on 94.9 News Now.
All right, all. Good morning. 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, broadcasting out over Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Long Island. As always, my email address is lee@949newsnow.com. Throw a message up on Facebook. Send me a tweet. I'm starting to get the hang of tweet, although I don't know how you talk back and forth to somebody. I wish that was easier, but I'm stupid. Anyway, here with me in the studio, longtime friend, high school classmate. You were 1 year ahead of me?
Yes.
1 year ahead of me. So he's a graduate in 1999. No, I'm just kidding. 1983, Waterford High School graduate. And he's got his own public access show. Two shows, actually, Wheel of Freedom and
Wake Up
America. And he alternates them. But his name is Phil Marie. And he's here with us in the studio. And occasionally I talk about things on the air. And it's almost directed at Phil because Phil is a person who I'll say it and then I'll let him tell his story. I'll get out of his way. Phil says that he is being attacked,
yes,
being spied on, all by either government agencies or different agencies. I could never do justice to the story, so I'm going to let him do it. But he talks about these events every Monday night on his public access show, which is on, I was going to say Metrocast, but it's Atlantic Broadband 25. And it's on at 7 o'clock on Monday nights. He used to have a co-host. He has a co-host every once in a while, but he sits there. He'll take phone calls during the course of an hour, but he'll talk about some of the events. So, Phil, first of all, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Lee. And by the way, I don't take phone calls.
Oh, you don't take phone calls?
I don't.
I thought you did.
1 hour a week
goes quick.
Isn't even near enough time.
All right, so I thought you took phone calls. Okay, because I know a couple people do call, but they're guests.
Exactly.
They're scheduled guests. Okay, fair enough. All right, so Phil, here's the deal. I need you sort of just to maybe give a little background of you. Just tell everybody so everybody knows who's talking to them. Where you went, what you do for a job, that kind of stuff, and then we can get into some of the other particulars.
Sure. For the listeners, basically, I've known Lee since 9 years old, Little League, and his mom played a special role in my life at that time, Lee. And I don't want to get too emotional here, but I met Lee in Little League, and the Elci family treated me so wonderful. And I came from a broken family, and just the memories are great. And your mom, it just is a rock star of a mom, Lee. And,
I appreciate that. I really do.
And honestly, I felt the pain and suffering, as you know, and saw at the burial and so forth. But nonetheless, Waterford boy, I got into the tile business.
Right.
And so I've been laying tile for years, Lee. And, live a life that I ended up raising my son for 12 years by myself up in New Hampshire. And so I know what struggling's about in life. And I've struggled a lot financially. But overall, I wouldn't change anything of that in the past.
Right.
But what happened was I applied to a game show, Deal or No Deal,
right,
as we all know. And when I applied to that game show in 2007, what happened was the most bizarre thing. My house ended up bugged, and stalking began. And at the time, if I had known what I know today, and you know all the information that I have, that I could have maybe handled it different, but I had no idea what it was all about.
All right, what year is this again? Go back to
2007. 2000s. Oh, you're shoving the mic in my
a little closer
face. That's right, Lee. I like live TV better for some reason, which is really bizarre.
It's okay. No, but so 2007 is you tried out for Deal or No Deal.
Yes.
Okay, and that was at Sonalist.
I did not try out. I sent in a video application.
Okay.
And at the time, one of my distant relatives, He's in the movie business, so I thought maybe I could see him. Nonetheless, they did some dark things, bugged my house, and it turned into a fiasco for me, and it broke me big time. In the fall of 2007, as I'm looking for these devices in my house, I started getting these shocks to my body, these pings, like a ping, like a horsefly bite.
Okay.
To the flesh.
All right, hold on. Before you get to that point, I got to back up just a little bit so people can follow who are listening at home.
Yeah.
So prior to 2007,
yes,
you had never had any run-in, any thought, any physical attack whatsoever from an outside entity. You never thought anybody was watching it. None of that stuff, right? Up in 2007, it all changed. Is that what you're telling us?
Actually, Lee, that wouldn't be the situation. The government did have an eye on the area up there in North Conway, and unfortunately, and I don't want to really throw my father under the bus, but he might have thrown me under the bus.
Okay.
But nonetheless, he didn't like the government, and
Right.
he was in the USA Today in 1999 about that whole chemtrail thing, which is now called geoengineering,
Right.
and they're proposing that the scientists want to cloud seed, whatever. But nonetheless,
All right, so in '99, your dad was in the USA Today,
Yes.
complaining about the chemtrails.
yes.
And okay, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
So that lasted for a while, and we were in the local paper writing, and people, he was, and the people thought it was me because I am a junior.
Okay.
So I had to defend myself and write a letter saying this is not the same guy, a different person,
Right.
and that led me into getting in this debate. Nonetheless,
okay.
the government was not happy with that back then.
Okay.
Today, it's a different story. It's not that as critical or secretive as it was back then. But it was not my idea. I didn't really care about the government in that sense.
Okay.
Like, I was raising a son.
Right.
I was enjoying the
So
beauty
none of those things matter to you, right?
No,
Okay.
no. But here's another strange thing. In 2003, we witnessed a strange sighting for 3 days in a row up there.
When you say up there, you haven't told everybody. You're talking about
up in North Conway, New Hampshire.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
that's okay. So that's where you were living.
I moved up there in '94.
Okay. So '94, you moved to North Conway.
Yeah.
So from like you said, right after '99, you saw some strange stuff.
It was occurring.
What's strange? Give me an example.
UFOs.
Okay,
Actually,
all right.
up there. The skies are very clear. It's like a planetarium. And
I believe in UFOs.
I-
I don't think that's a crazy statement to say.
Lee, I never talked about it in public. 6 years. 6 years live TV show. Have I ever talked about
haven't
UFOs?
remembered. No, I
Never.
haven't remembered you saying that
Because
at
you
all.
lose your credibility right out of the gate.
Okay.
And or chemtrails. I never talked about any of that.
Okay.
I talked about stuff that was easy for the viewers or listeners to absorb.
Okay.
Which was all these devices listening in,
All right,
watching.
let's move. We have to leap forward because this is a long story, and I don't want you to run out of time.
It's
But-
complicated.
Okay, so
sorry about
no,
that.
that's okay. But I'm just you are up in New Hampshire
Yes.
in 2007.
Yes.
You try out for the Deal or No Deal, which is back here at Sonalist.
No, I sent
it in, but
I sent it into California.
Okay.
And they came to visit me in New Hampshire. Is
People
what happened.
from Deal or No Deal came to visit you.
And they ended up bugging my house.
Oh,
Absolutely.
But they visited you, like you shook their hands. They
no,
met you.
No, not at all.
Why-
Not once have I been contacted to this day by anybody.
So you sent in a video.
Yes.
And you say that Deal or No Deal sent people to your home to bug you.
With family members.
With
My family members who are in that business.
your family members who are from Hollywood.
Yes, I believe.
Okay.
I believe it had to have been.
Okay, so I got to ask you the question, Phil.
Yes.
Why you? Why would they do that?
I sent a funny video in, and you know I can do some good things. I do have some talents, Lee, and But with the video, I also presented this picture of my cousin, the actor, and I wanted to see him. So there was a little tie there.
Okay.
And I never expected this to ruin my life.
Right.
And so I'm not trying to throw Howie Mandel, under the bus at all, but he was truly involved. And one of my best friends up there is a retired law enforcement and confirmed it with me. And I found floodlights that were put on my garage that I didn't put. And inside these floodlights were cameras, wireless cameras. And the screw-in part of the light bulb was plastic, Lee. And when I saw these, I took them down, looked at them. I was horrified. Then all of a sudden, all these cars start zipping by. Zoom, 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 tooting horns, rattling my cage. I call the sheriff. I go meet with the sheriff. And they're very corrupt up there, Lee. But he had me burn all the evidence. And I was burning TVs. I was burning everything I could find that was clicking, that was making noises. You can hide hidden cameras, Lee, in anywhere, any item.
Why was he? I gotta ask. I gotta stop you. Why did the law enforcement guy want you to burn that stuff?
To this day, I don't know. But okay. I thought the nightmare would go away.
Okay.
And the police chief up there, by the way, was a criminal by all means. This guy had many charges against him. Actually, did jail time after the fact, and it was very corrupt. And they were either paid off or they were afraid to initiate justice against companies like GE that owned NBC, and GE plays a big role in this. So you have GE, you have NBC, you have the Hollywood people. And if the people doubt any of this, you look at the Harvey Weinstein story in the New Yorker, the army of spies, Lee. He hired the ex-Mossad to stalk his victims of sexual harassment or rape, whatever, to destroy them. So my story 5-10 years ago was unique in the sense that this wasn't out in the open. But you look at everything I've talked about, including being zapped and hit with these weapons. Look at what happened in Cuba, Lee.
Oh no, I talk about that because of you. But Phil was, Phil was on the cutting edge of these weapons, like they're using in Cuba to mess with the people's hearing. Now their minds are actually changing in Cuba.
Yes.
All right. So now again, we're talking with Phil Marie. Those of you who don't recognize the voice, he is an old high school classmate. He's a year ahead of me. Played some baseball with me. He's got his own public access show. Again, he is claiming that the government is watching. The government is attacking him on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And it happens to you even like to this day. It happens to you today. It'll happen to you today, right?
It happened to me sitting out in the parking lot here. Okay. Absolutely. And they, not to be gross, but they go after my private area. So it's horrible.
All right, but they also hit you you say they hit you every place else too,
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
All right. Again, the people, I can hear them. They're going to ask the same question that I ask. I got to ask you again. Why Phil Marie? Why are the government folks going after you?
Well, one thing, Lee, I still have my pickup truck, which is bugged.
Okay.
And I refuse to let that go, and I demanded justice or an apology.
Okay.
I got neither, and it almost cost me my life, but I still have the truck, Lee.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with giants. You can't get justice against giants in this world. You cannot get justice. And lawyers don't want to even try to compete because these giants have giant lawyers.
Okay.
So when you're up against the giant, Lee, there's no way of winning this battle. And I don't even want to be in the battle. I want to be able to put this behind me someday.
Right.
And it just never ends. It gets worse.
Phil, again, I watched your show. You came up to me, you talked to me 5 or 6, probably 6 years now, and told me this story, which, it's for the average everyday person, it's hard to believe, right? You got to admit that,
It
right?
is.
Okay. So it's hard to believe. So we talked about you getting your public access show, which you did, and I think it's a great thing.
Thanks to you,
Well,
Lee.
but it's good because you're throwing this stuff out there, and you've actually met people because of this show who have the same kind of scenarios that are going on for them, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not just a couple. There's a lot of people.
There's
out there.
thousands of people.
And you've actually had big guests on your show who claim the same thing, like what's his name?
Bill Binney.
Yeah, right. Sure.
NSA whistleblower.
Yeah.
Bill Binney, as a matter of fact, Bill Binney recently met with the head of the CIA, Mike Pompeo. Guess who wanted that meeting to take place? President Trump.
Okay.
So they are on this, Lee. And Bill Binney knows my personal situation very well. As a matter of fact, he sent $100 to me on that GoFundMe thing to help me out for Christmas.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's...
Okay. I asked you why. You say there's a million reasons. Why would they is it a test? Are they testing these weapons? Is that you're contending that they're testing these on you, or there's a vendetta for you? What's the reasoning? I mean, I can understand if you're going to tell me that they're testing the weapons to see if they work. Okay, but why the grudge against Phil?
Here's how it works, Lee. Every administration comes in, they get control of the weapons. All right. So the spying and all this, including the Trump administration. They now have control of the majority of these weapons or this technology.
And you pray for Trump every day.
I do, and I like him. I don't know what more to say with that, but Lee, I believe that they are experimenting with the weapons. Okay. And they also use them to silence people. And they know that I have a story to tell. Right. And I do have a book publisher that's interested, but I can't even get to that point because when I try to sit down and relax and put it in text from my handwritten notes, they can freeze my laptop remotely, and then they start zapping my body, and they will not give me a chance. So I can't even get to that point to tell the story, Lee.
Yeah, you claim a lot that they're messing with your electrical equipment at home. They still do that to this day. They can stop your computer, freeze your computer. You've even said you take a video, and then when you go home to look at it, it's completely messed up already,
exactly.
et cetera. All right. Because we've already been talking for longer than you can probably imagine. We only got about 5 minutes left, so
this is wrong. This is totally wrong.
Well, see, it goes quick. I know. I want to get fast forward because you actually say that they attacked you so fiercely, they caused you to have a ruptured bowel. Correct? Tell that story real quick.
Okay, Lee. February 20th this year, 2 a.m. I was sleeping, and I was hit with a strong jolt that came up through my feet, out through my head. Right. It woke me up. My teeth chattered. I don't have false teeth, but they chattered. It was so bad. And then the second one came like 5 seconds later, did the same thing, rattled me. I went right to Twitter at 2 a.m. that this is something new that just hit me. I sent it to Trump. I had no idea, Lee. My head was killing me. Right. The energy came out through my head. 3 days later, I'm in the emergency room, all swelling. My stomach, my colon had ruptured. It was perforated. And the surgeon said it had nothing to do with the food I was eating, the work I do. It was unexplainable. These stealth weapons, Lee, are so easy. I believe it was a CIA drone, and I believe it was one of Obama's holdouts in the CIA that did it, because when Trump won the election, I do apologize. I went off on Obama on Twitter, and I totally unleashed on him because I knew that Hillary was not coming in as president, and they wouldn't take me out. But I believe that was a hit job to shut me up forever.
We're talking to Phil Marie. We've got a couple minutes left. To me, it's a fascinating story. You are completely 100%. Like it's amazing the conviction that you have. Again, I'm sure there are folks out there who are having a hard time believing what you're saying, but that goes with the territory. But I want to end up on a subject that we sort of just touched on for a second, because I think it means a lot to you. And you talk about it almost every time on your show. Someone who's as rattled as you are, who goes through the ringer every single day like you say you do, you still have a tremendous amount of faith.
I sure do, Lee. I have strong faith in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Lord. And no matter what I've been through, when I left New Hampshire, I left with nothing. I was ready to end my life. And if it wasn't for Jesus, I would have ended my life, Lee. And he keeps me going, Lee. And it's hard for the people who haven't accepted Jesus into their life as their Lord and Savior, but born again. But there is power. There is power. And when I holler out for Jesus, these attacks will stop. They stop. And they get very scared about that. That's the most powerful weapon in this world is Jesus Christ, Lee.
If you want to tell anybody something, Phil, right now, maybe they're experiencing some of the same things that you experience, or maybe they're going through some stuff similar to what you went through. What advice would you give them? Is there a website they can go to? Is there a number they can call? What do they do?
Well, first of all, grow in your faith and lean on God. No matter what, Lee, because you cannot win this battle without God. And I've been not trying to win it without God, but it's impossible. And so my biggest advice to all your listeners is learn to forgive, because God will not forgive me if I don't forgive others, Lee. And this battle keeps getting more intense, more and more characters and players involved. I want closure, and I want a chance to forgive all these people that hurt me, and they're powerful people, Lee.
I hope you can get to that someday, Phil. You're really a nice guy at heart, and I hope you can find that somewhere along the line. You get some peace with this, because it just doesn't seem fair. Phil Marie, again, Monday nights, but it won't be this Monday because it's New Year's Day. You're taking that off, right?
Exactly.
All right, but every Monday you're on Atlantic Broadband, Channel 25. Sometimes you tell the story over. You play a lot of videos.
I do.
You kind of have a crush on Laura Ingraham.
Kind of, yeah, Lee.
A lot of people do. That's okay.
That's right. That's right. You called me out on that one. I'm all right. I'm all right with that.
Phil, listen, we thank you for coming in. It goes fast, but down the road, maybe we'll get you back on. We'll take some calls down the road.
Lee, I do want to come in and talk about the technology. As you see all the papers laid out here, we have so many advanced technology, lasers, and just the spying capabilities will blow everyone's minds how advanced this is, Lee. And society needs to, the technology has outpaced the laws.
Right.
And there's one person on your show that talks about that often, and it's Captain Salmacy. The technology, the cyber technology has outpaced the laws, Lee. So we have a problem.
There's no question about that.
No
I
doubt.
totally agree with that, and I do think we're living in a day and age when, and that's all going to get. It's even going to get worse. That technology is going to explode, because what we've seen in 10 years. I mean, what they've done in 10 years, technology-wise. Can you think about the next 10 years exponentially? It's going to get even worse. They're going to build on that technology every day.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem real quick, Lee. Even though the Trump administration might not be violent with these weapons, they're going to let these weapons grow more intense. Someday we may have a dictator as a president, and they're going to be able to control every move and thought we have. Artificial intelligence is the biggest threat to mankind. Elon Musk, be careful. All our weapons, all the military fighter jets are all artificial intelligence. They set the whole thing and say, is this okay for the fighter pilot? Trust me, Lee, I do a lot of research, man.
Bill, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. We got to go. It goes quick. I tell you, man, that went by in a blink. You guys have a wonderful day. I want to thank all the great guests we had, including Rick Costa, Doc Foley, Colonel Rob Simmons, of course, Phil here. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll do it all over again tomorrow, final day before the new year. You guys have a good one. We'll see you.